Hello, it is 9:16 p.m. on April the 10th of 2021. So let me flip this around to me. If I can scoot my chair closer, I'm going to scoot my chair a little bit closer is what I'm going to do. So I've been thinking about Paul Bunyan. You know, Paul Bunyan was in the United States, and he was a giant, and he had this blue ox. Um, but he was a giant. And you know, some people said that Paul Bunyan was like a Nephilim, a descendant of a Nephilim. Some say he was 9 feet. Some say he was taller than that, much taller than that. So who's to say? But you know what? Hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello from my heart to yours. Thank you for joining me. Let me flip this around. I look a little wild, but that's okay. Look at this. So I want to read this article. They have this giant skeleton, 18 feet tall, and found it in Austin, Texas, on June the 14th. It says if the report that the fossilized skeleton of a giant 18 feet tall has been found near Seymour, Texas, is true, then it is the most important ethnological discovery ever made in the world. So, you know, when they say if, you know it is true. So it is true. There are giants. There's Nephilim. There are. There's giant people in the world. There are giant people in the world. Super giant. Look at that. Well, there's some even more giant. That doesn't look too tall. Probably 10 feet or something. 10 feet or something. But you know they had to have some giant people on the earth if the sons of God came down, 200 of them, and mated with the daughters of men, and they bore the Nephilim. Yeah, so this goes on to say that it would break all previous records of giants by nearly 10 feet as the tallest man known to anthropological research was only 8 feet 5 inches in height. That's kind of small, you all. If you have a giant only 8 feet 5 inches, you know, there's some people on earth, it's about that tall. They are, and they put them on these basketball teams. This is what they do. They find these people, you're tall, we're going to let you play basketball. Well, the other people don't stand a chance because you got somebody super, super tall, and they can just get the ball. That's kind of not nice. It isn't nice. So let's look at this, you all. So it says the skeleton is in possession of W.J. McKinney in Houston, Texas, the oil prospector who found it, and has been seen by a number of people who vouch the truth of the size of the relic of a heretofore unknown race. An unknown race. Maybe they didn't know about it back then. Maybe they didn't know about the Nephilim back then. It may not. You never know. And if you're just tuning on, hello, you may say, I didn't get a notification. Well, sometimes YouTube will not send out notification. It all depends on what the topic is. It really does. Whatever the topic might be, that will determine whether or not you get a notification, I think. And this is not one of those topics that's going to send out notifications. It is not. But there are giants. Yeah, let me shrink this down. Let's look at this. It says, while making an excavation on the narrow waterhead between the Brazos and the Wichita rivers, came up on the fossilized skeleton near the surface. I estimate that this man weighed from 2,000 to 2,500 pounds. That man weighed 2,000 to 2,500 pounds. Wow, that's a lot. I've never even gave it much thought of how much a person would weigh if they were that tall, but that's pretty heavy. Well, of course, you have the bone structure, and yeah, 2,000 to 2,500 pounds, according to my deductions. He lived about 2,800 years ago. So that giant, they said, lived around 2,800 years ago. And the skull is 6 times the size of that of an ordinary man. Hello, thank you for joining. Yeah, of an ordinary man. They said Mr. McKinney does not explain how he arrived at the figure as to the probable period of the existence of this remarkable man, but it is probable that the bones of the giant will be donated to the Smithsonian Institution. Well, then we know what happened to the bones. If they got donated to the Smithsonian, I can't even say it, to the Smithsonian Institution, we know what they did with the bones. They went around collecting the bones, and they put them on a great big old barge or ship or something, and they ended up in the bottom of the ocean. That's where they ended up, in the bottom of the ocean. That was in Texas. Okay, that was in Texas is where it was at. Yeah, the giant that was killed in Afghanistan and Iraq. Oh, I think I remember something about hearing something about that. Yeah, hello. So now they look at this. So if I come over here, if I make this bigger, now they got giant skeletons in Afghanistan and Kandahar. Just one moment. We got to keep that in our mind. So giant skeletons in Alaska, an ancient cemetery uncovered in the Atlango district. It says that an American miner arrived here today with the news of the finding of a number of skeletons in an ancient Indian cemetery in the north, which is startling scientific interest. Perkinson is one of the owners of the Yellow Jacket, a rich claim which is supposed to be the fountain head of the pine. The principal key in the alien. 2 weeks ago, he found a new tunnel on the property and appears to have been an old Indian burying ground which was opened up. So you all heard of giants in Alaska. It says 5 skeletons, nearly complete, were exhumed, and each is a set of bones that belonged to a giant of prehistoric times. So let's see how tall this is. One of the skeletons measured over 7 feet in length, so that man, let's see, let me look at this, you all. Let's look at this. So 7, let's see if I can read this. I'm getting, Gina, you got to focus, Gina. Okay, I can focus. I will focus. Oh, Gina, no, you can't do that. You got to use this. So you got to use your little ink pen. So one of the skeletons measures over 7 feet in length, so that the man must have been considerably over that height. Then there were 2 other remaining, and the 2 were more than 6 feet in length, and the men were of the gigantic frame. The altitude is high, and the ground was half frozen, so that the bones were preserved almost intact. They say that they expect if they had been kept on digging, they would have found many more. So they got these bones that get buried. The bones get buried, you all. The giants in America, yeah. Okay, now we're going to go try to find the Sardinia giant. Sardinia giant. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Sardinia giant. Because we can do this. I'll just open up another window. It's just that easy. Whoa. The giants of Sardinia. Ooh, look at that. So yeah, let's see at them. Let's see their images first. The giants of Sardinia. They even have statues of them. Yeah. They look at the kind of human head. The Monte Prama giants, a massive, let's open that link in another, let's open that up in another link. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about some giants, is what we're doing. Because I was thinking about Paul Bunyan today, and he was big. He really was a giant. Gina, don't be looking at images of that. Okay, yeah, I'm supposed to be at Kandahar. Okay, so look at these giants. These giants right here of Monte Prama are ancient stone sculptures created by the Nuragic civilization of Sardinia, Italy. and fragmented into numerous pieces, and they were discovered in 74 between the 11th and 8th century. Their height is like 8 foot 2 inches. So Kandahar, you say Kandahar. Somebody said Kandahar. Gina. Oh, Afghanistan, Kandahar. So we can do the Kandahar. Yeah, I think there was a reason why they went over there. Kandahar. It wasn't just for whatever. And they got all the stuff. The giant of Kandahar. Did the U.S. Special Forces kill a giant in Kandahar? I don't trust this anymore. This right here thing. I don't. So look at this. So they said, I can't, I gotta be careful. Let me see if I can go here. I don't know what that is. Oh my gosh, did you see that? It said like 12 to 15 feet tall. So you can go, this is for educational purposes and research, that which we're doing. So yeah, so we're talking about this giant in Kandahar. The giant of Kandahar. Did U.S. Special Forces really shoot dead a 12-foot tall giant in Kandahar? So says throughout history, they've been passed down, men fighting monsters and stuff, and many cultures use giants as a foe for the hero of the tale, demonstrating the strength of character. So there's all these things about giants throughout history. You know what? I'm beginning to think that these things they put as fairy tales, they're actually real. That's what I'm thinking. They're actually real. All of them are real. So they knocked this thing out of my ear. I did. That's all right. So look at this. Okay, so we got Icelandic folklore. We got Greek mythology derived. Let's see, we got Greek mythology, Norse mythology. The Jotun are giants who lived throughout the 9 worlds and opposed the gods. Have you all ever heard of that? The Jotun and the 9 worlds? They come in many forms, such as frost giants, fire giants, mountain giants, and the Norse gods are described as human-sized. Huge giants are their foes in many battles. Ragnarok, and the final battle where the giants would storm Asgard, the home of the gods, and battle the gods until the world is destroyed. Giants are firmly fixed, they said. Well, yeah, there's a story called Odd, O-D-D, and the Frost Giant. It's a pretty good story. I got it on audiobook, and it's really neat. Gina, country boy, I'm telling you, the aliens made those giants, and I cannot tie the Bible and prehistoric accounts together with each other. You can't tie, but that's okay if you can't tie it. Somebody made those giants. They did make those giants. Okay, we have the technology. Okay, remember when the Bionic Man came out, and then the Bionic Woman came out? I think they already had their Bionic Mans in real life and Bionic Womans in real life. Yeah. So you got Iceland, but we got the giant of Kandahar. Giants confined to ancient tales, books, and films. It says in 2002, the story was not picked up widely until 2016. You know why it wasn't picked up about the giant of Kandahar? Because they didn't want the news out. Because that would stir up a lot of controversy. If people started talking about giants, then that would add truth to all these fables and these stories of giants in the land. Heaven forbid that somebody give an account of an actual giant. Yeah. So the episode featured look at this, the episode. So let's just talk about it. So there was a military contractor, there was a soldier who said they witnessed a blade wielding giant kill one of their fellow Special Force office soldiers. The giant was then down by the remaining troops following the skirmish, and the giant's body was loaded into a military transport aircraft and flown to an undisclosed location to be hidden away from the public. I think it's totally true. I really do. There is no reason for that not to be true at all. But they didn't die. I read that the remaining giants, like Paul Bunyan, they said like a Nephilim, but he was a giant. There were other giants, and I heard that they were driven underground with the Sasquatch. I did. They went underground with the Sasquatch too, here in America. So there's giants under those ground. So yeah, the giant of Kandahar. Let's see how tall it was. 12 to 15 feet tall, 1,100 pounds, with scarlet colored hair and 6 fingers instead of 5. The witness and his team were sent to a remote area to search for a patrol which had gone missing. And as they arrived in the area, the giant emerged from a cave. There you go. They went into the cave, wielding a huge blade which it used as a skewer. That is disgusting. That is. And you know what? So it came out of a cave. And do you know that there's been photos of these caves where there's big giant flying saucers in these caves, UFOs, and Obama went to visit too. Do you remember that video I did on the YouTube? It's a live video about Obama and the other heads of states and several other countries. They went to Kandahar or Afghanistan unannounced, and they went to this one area where that great big old UFO was. Okay. So it is real. All of this stuff is real. This is not myths. This is not fables. It's not folklore. This is the real history that was passed off as all of that. The real history is the folklore, the fables, and all of that. I believe that's the real history. That's what I think. And so they did that. When questioned directly, the Department of Defense stated they had no record of the incident occurring. Of course they don't have any record of it. Just like they don't talk about the UFOs, okay? Why do they want to talk about stuff like that? Because it's going to raise more questions, and people are going to start talking. So in Kandahar, 2002, he was one of 4 soldiers who lost their lives during the incident involving the clearance and disposal. That's what they say. They lost their lives during explosives. That's the statement backed up. No, see, they got to have it. The press release does not contain any records which involve a giant or an entire patrol disappearing. Of course, it's not going to. It's not going to have that. So we know, yeah, there's lots of things that happen. I need to quit doing that because I notice a nervous habit. I'm making noise, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to do that. I like to just twirl it, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to touch it because it's the rattling in your ear. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh no. Well, we're not asleep, so that's great. So we're not asleep. So they just said they went missing. That's all that happened, just missing. They trekked along a mountain trail and arrived at a large cave surrounded by broken military equipment and gear. In an interview, the witness goes into a lot of detail regarding the incident, who was part of the special ops. They trekked into a mountain, a large cave surrounded by broken military equipment and gear. As they prepared to enter the cave, the giant emerged, impaling Dan, and proceeded to attack the rest of the squad. And the witness states they took 30 seconds of continuous fire to down the giant. They were armed with M4 submachine guns, 38 308, recon, carbine, all of that. So they said the target was something big if the story was true. Yeah, if it was 30 seconds. The giant wore a canvas or an animal hide covers on to protect its feet like moccasins and smelt like dead bodies. That's kind of gross. And the creature's body was airlifted back to the squad's base by a helicopter and a net. From there is loaded into an aircraft and taken away, never to be seen again. And upon their return, the soldiers were made to sign a non-disclosure paperwork to stop the word from spreading their encounter. So, so it actually happened. Troy Gremlins. Now we can't truly say that all giants are evil. We can't. We can't. Yeah. So let's see this. Okay. Yeah. Am I my moderator on here? Okay, I'm a moderator. I can do that. I don't mind doing that at all. Yeah, in the end, we know what happened. So we have the giant of Kandahar. We have that giant. Of course, you have Goliath in the Bible. Um, yeah, and now you have the giant of Kandahar. And then you have the, yes, the Hobbit Road of the Rings, something. If you were an embodied, hello there, Apple Brooks. Country boy, if you were an embodied question, if you were an embodied spirit, how could you reproduce and have offspring? Well, I guess if you took the body of a human being, you can produce stuff. Actually, I believe that your essence would go into the person. I do. You have energy. Spirits have energy. Humans have energy. It does. The Nephilims, yeah. Now, this may sound weird, but have you ever been kissing somebody and when you kiss them, you can literally feel the electricity? Now, this might sound weird, but we are electric beings. You can feel the electricity between the two of you if you kiss them. Okay? Have you ever felt that? That's your energy transferring. And of course, if you got static electricity and stuff like that, you can like shock yourself. Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to use that scenario, but yeah, you can transfer a lot of stuff. You can. Yeah. Um, if giants are the offspring, I don't know. But then guess what? If you're talking about fall, that's just a recorded. See, there's other records of angels. There's Dead Sea Scrolls. We don't have all the information out here. There's a lot of things that they have kept hidden from us. And there's a lot of cultures that have that story too in different narrations. Yeah. Um, yeah. So the giants. Okay, let's look at this. Look at the Nephilim giant. Look how big the teeth would be. Well, it did say back in, if you read that, what was the name of that book? I forget the name. The book of Enoch talked about those giants. And they were friendly with the people, but then they started getting hungry. And then they started eating the people. So the people had to rise up against the giants and they had to fight. Okay, so that's that account with the book of Enoch. Now look at that giant skeleton right there. You see that? Whoa, my goodness. No, see, we're going to have to look at that. Look at this. A 47-inch human femur. It says during, are you watching this? Yeah. Are you watching me? Yes, we got to be lighthearted about this, okay? This is instructional purposes and educational. This is research is what it is. Yeah. So let's read this. A 47-inch human femur, which is supposed to be the strongest bone in the body. If you didn't know, that's what they taught us growing up. in the late 1950s during the road construction in southeast Turkey. Oh, now see, look at this, you all. They're talking about Turkey, and we just now started talking about the Kandahar giant. So this is an article, so we're going to read it. So yeah, so this is, I got to, Gina, you're going to knock this out of your head too. Let me do a hello there. Yeah, so in 1950s, during road construction in southeast Turkey in the Euphrates Valley, many tombs containing the remains of giants were uncovered. At two sites, the leg bones were measured to be about 120 centimeters, 47.24 inches. Joe Taylor, the director of Mount Blanco Fossil Museum in Crossbyton, Texas, was commissioned. No, get that off of there. I got to shrink this down so I can look at it again. So let me do this. No, I don't want to open it. I got to try to. I got to quit touching that. Okay, let me zoom it up on here. I'm sorry about that. So he was commissioned to. Watch this. I got to get myself together. Okay, so I can read that. I do. I've got to get myself together so I can read that, because this is switch pages on me, Gina. That's what happened to me. I switched pages. So I got a touch, yeah. I got to quit touching it. I'm not going to get this message out if I keep playing around, you all. That's my problem. I need to quit touching that touch screen, because I want to read about that giant. I do. Yeah. I can't, well, I'm trying to get this one part off of it. Well, there is a thing, if I do a screenshot, sometimes it's not going to come up the way I want it. I'm just not going to touch it, okay? I'm not going to touch it. We're going to flip it. Okay, so he was commissioned to sculpt this anatomically correct and to scale human femur, is what he was doing. He was supposed to do that. So he did. He sketched it. Okay. The giant stood 14 to 16 feet tall, as we can see right here, 14 to 16 feet tall, and had 20 to 22 inch long feet. His or her fingertips with arms to their sides would be about 6 feet above the ground. The biblical record in Deuteronomy states that the iron bed of a king of Bashan was 9 cubits by 4 cubits, or approximately 14 feet long by 6 feet wide. I never heard of that. Did you all ever hear of that? A king of in the book of Deuteronomy, 14 feet long by 6 feet wide. Oh my goodness. Well, that raises a lot of questions. It really does. I didn't know it either, so you got to look it up. Deuteronomy 3:11. That's if you're going to you want to look in your Bible, Deuteronomy 3:11. I'm going to look at it too. The iron bed of King Bashan. Okay, and then there's something to talking about the Nephilim. So there were Nephilim in the earth in those days, and after that, when the sons of God, the angels, who came down to the daughters of men, and they bore children. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Let's go to Deuteronomy 3:11. I want to see what that says. I have never heard of that before. Deuteronomy 3:11. The length of the bed. I really haven't. That's really interesting. So if the Bible has that, I think they said I can't think of it. Yep, right here. We're going to find it. Look at this. I like to go here. I just like, if I'm going to look up something, I want to go to that right there. It says King Basham was the last of the Raphites. What's a Raphite? His bed was decorated with iron and was more than 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide in Rabbah and the Ammonites. So were they going to have it in feet? I want to see it in feet. It's there, and that's all they got to say about it. Look. He was of the remnant of giants of the nation of Rephaim in those parts. His the Talmud. So, wow, I did not know that at all. Look, Bashan was of old, possessed by a giant race, the Rephaim. Who's the Rephaim? But of these, Og, king of Bashan, was at the time of the Israelite invasion the sole remnant. Wow, that is really interesting. I learned something new. Look at this. It goes on to say that, Gina, I need an ink pen. I lost my ink pen, you all. So it says that there was talking about these feet. It says that Og, even approximate to his height, is incredible. If he reached 9 or 10 feet, his height would exceed that of anyone on record. It is probable, however, that he may have had, no, he didn't make his bed larger than that. Yeah, he did not make his bed larger than that. So they said that he was of the giants of Og. So that's interesting. So you can look at that. What am I missing here, you all? Yeah. Esley, you can go on YouTube and you can type in audio book of Enoch and you can listen to it for free. You can. You just click on there because there's audio books, and that's the best way. You can just lay in your bed, you can sit on the couch or the chair, and you can just listen. Or even yeah, that's what you're going to have to do because you ain't going to be going outside. Yeah, audio book. It's wonderful, and it's free. You can do that. So the Giant of Kandahar is what it was. And so they found that right there in Turkey. Right there in Turkey. And then they're talking about the giant in Deuteronomy. So what do you all think about that? Okay, now they got some giants in the desert. So Los Angeles, a retired Ohio doctor has discovered the relic of an ancient civilization whose men were 9 feet tall in the Colorado desert near the Arizona, Nevada, California line. However, Howard Hill disclosed that several well-preserved mummies were taken yesterday from the caverns in areas roughly 180 miles square, extending through much of southern Nevada from Death Valley, California, and one Colorado River into the Arkansas. He discovered his doctor and physician stumbled on the first of several tunnels in 1931 after coming west. So they found mummies. Not until this year did they go into the situation with his father indwelling. Look at this. They eventually placed it at about 80,000 years old. These giants are clothed in garments consisting of a medium-length jacket and trouser, extending slightly below the knees, and the texture of the material is said to resemble gray dyed sheepskin, but obviously it was taken from an animal unknown today. He said in another cavern was found the ritual hall of the ancient people together with the devices and markings similar to those now used by the Masonic order. Oh. Look at that. In another cavern, It's used today, the marking similar to those now used by the Masonic Order. In a long tunnel were well-preserved remains of animals, including elephants and tigers. So far, they added, no women have been found. He said the explorers believed what they found was the burial place of the tribe's hierarchy. Oh wow, you all, we're gonna learn stuff today about that. Yeah. Um, um, Let me see something right here. Do we got trolls on here? Because I'm not looking. Um, or is everybody being good? Because I'm going to pause for a moment. Yeah, I think we're like a minute and a half. We don't got no trolls on here. That is perfect. That is wonderful. It is lovely. Yeah. Um, okay, look at this. So look, giant skeletons are found. A cave in Mexico gives up the bones of an ancient race. That is perfect, Apple Brooks. In Boston, it says, he's recently returned from Mexico, where he has been in charge of Thomas W. Lawson's mining interests, has called the attention of Professor Agassi to a remarkable discovery. He found in Mexico a cave containing 200 skeletons of men, each above 8 feet in height. The cave was evidently the burial place of a race of giants who antedated the Aztecs. Mr. Clapp arranged the bones of one of the skeletons and found the total length to be 8 feet 11 inches. The femur reached up to his thigh, and the molars were big enough to crack a coconut. The head measured 18 inches from front to back. I gotta laugh at that. Well, they want to compare his teeth big enough to crack a coconut. But you, coconuts are hard to crack. They really are. I remember being in Hawaii when we get some coconuts off the tree. They're very hard to crack. I had to use a hammer and a screwdriver to crack them open. Oh my God. I shouldn't laugh about that. I should not, but that made me laugh, you all. Yeah, that's right. Um, yeah, it's funny how not a single bone of any of these 200 skeletons ever studied, as if someone just makes it all up. Well, the Smithsonian studied them, and they gathered all the bones and they dumped them in the ocean, big piles of them. Boom, to hid the history. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. I know it. No, you can't crack a coconut with your bare teeth. I'm telling you, they're hard to crack. They really are. Look at this one. So let's look at this one. So unearthed at Athens, thought to have been Indians of gigantic proportions. Athens, wherever that's at. The skeletons of 2 Indians have been unearthed along the banks of the Hawking River at Roach's Mill, 1/2 mile east of Athens. The excavation was made under a large building a short distance from the bank of the river. Unearthed a few feet from the skeletons were many arrowheads, which no doubt were buried with the redskins when they were sent either by accident or natural death to the happy hunting grounds. The skeletons were evidently those of gigantic men. Judging by the bones, they could have not measured less than 7 feet in stature. The bones were in excellent state of preservation, and the teeth being still firmly embedded in the maxillary bones. Wow. So those Indians were giants too. And see, they talk about, and how I got on this subject, I was thinking about Paul Bunyan, and he was a giant, and I was thinking about the giants, and he was in America. And you know, they made him out, I need to quit fidgeting, they made him out to be a myth, but he actually existed. but somebody else said that he went with the Indians, and they had like some mystics. The Indians had knowledge in the spiritual world, and they knew what was going to be the outcome of the Native Americans. So some Indians got a heads up, and they went into the caves underground, and some of the giants went with them. That's what I heard. So look at this. Did we read this yet? We didn't read this yet. Scientists unearthed the relics of Indians who lived 700 years ago. Um, so this is July the 13th. Did we read this? Oh, no, I guess not. Pennsylvania. Donahoe, Pennsylvania historian has been conducting research along the valley of the Susquehanna, has uncovered an Indian mound at Tioga Point on the upper portion of Queen Esther's Flats of what is now, is the Murray Farm, a short distance from Sarah, Pennsylvania, which promises rich additions to Indian lore. In the mound uncovered were found the bones of 68 men, which are believed to have been buried 700 years ago. The average height of these men was 7 feet, while many were much taller. Further evidence of their gigantic size was found in large cells or mixes hewed from stone and buried in the grave. On some of the skulls, 2 inches above the perfectly formed forehead, were protuberances of bone. Members of the expedition say that it is the first discovery of its kind on record and valuable contribution to the history of the early races. The skull and a few bones found in one grave were sent to the American Indian Museum. Yeah. Um, oh, King Hoochamundo. Yeah, so look at this, you all. There's giants all over the place. And I think that's what the news needs to be talking about. We need to be talking about these giants on the news because look at all these articles. Strange skeletons found. The tribe of Hitherto who lived in Wisconsin. The discovery of several skeletons of human beings while excavating a mound at Lake Delavan indicates that a heretofore unknown race of men once inhabited the southern Wisconsin. Information of the discovery was brought to Madison today by Maurice Morrissey of Delavan, who came here to attend a meeting of the Republican State Central Committee. The curator of Charles Historical Museum will investigate the discoveries. Upon opening a large mound at Lake Lawn Farm, 18 skeletons were discovered by Philip Brothers. The heads, presumably those of men, are much larger than the heads of any race which inhabit America today. From directly over the eye sockets, the head slopes straight back. Wait a minute now. The head slopes straight back and the nasal bones protrude far above the cheekbones. The jawbones are long and pointed, bearing a minute resemblance to the head of a monkey. The teeth in the front of the jaw are regular molars. There were also found in the mounds the skeletons, presumably of women, which had a smaller head but were similar in facial characteristics. The skeletons were embedded in charcoal and covered over with layers of baked clay to shed water from the sculptors. So what kind of race is that? Do you see that? Their heads were much larger than any race, and from directly over their eye sockets, the head slopes straight back, and the nasal bones protrude far above the cheekbones. The jaw bones are long and pointed, bearing a minute resemblance to the head of a monkey. Bigfoot. That's right. That makes sense. It does make sense, doesn't it? So Bigfoot and the Indians, they dwelled together. This is like making my voice sound a little. Do I sound all right? I hope this is all right because we're talking about giants. They're all over the place. They are all over the place. That's great. So let's look at this. In Wisconsin Mound, a skeleton found of a man over 9 feet high with an enormous skull. Okay, one of the recently discovered mounds in this town has been opened. In it was found the skeleton of a man of gigantic size. The bones measured from head to foot over 9 feet and were in a fair state of preservation. The skull was as large as a half a bushel measure. Some finely tempered rods of copper and other relics were laying near the bones. The mound from which the relics were taken is 10 feet high and 30 feet long and varies from 6 to 8 feet in width. The two mounds is lesser size and will be excavated soon. You know, there's all kinds of things about these giants, and they need to get the news out about those giants. They really do. Um, um, Look, so where's this at? In Nevada, workmen engaged in digging gravel here today uncovered a depth about 12 feet, a lot of bones, part of the skeletons of a giant human being. Rob, thank you, honey, of a giant human being. Dr. Samuels examined them and pronounced them to be the bones of a man who must have been nearly 11 feet in height. The metacarpal bones measures 4.5 inches in length and are large in proportion. A part of the ulna was found and its complete form would have been between 17 and 18 inches in length. The remainder of the skeleton is being searched for. Oh, look, here's another one. Did we already read this right here? So look at this. So this is in Los Angeles, February the 10th. Owing to the discovery of the remains of a race of giants in Guadalupe, New Mexico, antiquarians and archaeologists are preparing an expedition to further explore that region. This determination is based on the excitement that exists among the people of a scope of country near the Mesa Rico, about 200 miles southeast of Las Vegas, where an old burial ground has been discovered that has yielded skeletons of enormous size. So they was excited back then. They were so excited about then to get that news out about that giants, and now look, there's no talk of them at all. There's no talk of them at all. They got to just like bury it. Well, we don't want to bury it. Luciana Quintana, one of those whose ranch ancient burial plot is located, discovered two stones that bore curious inscriptions, and beneath them were found in a shallow excavations the bones of a frame that could not have been less than is that 12 feet? I was going to say 32 feet. No, they said 12 feet. 12 feet in length. The men who opened the grave say the forearm was 4 feet long, and that in a well-preserved jaw, the lower teeth ranged from the size of a hickory nut to that of a large walnut in size. The chest of the being is reported as having a circumference of 7 feet. Wow. Quintana, who has uncovered many other burial places. Rob Fallon, thank you. Quintana, who has found very many other places, expresses the opinion that perhaps thousands of skeletons of a race of giants, long extinct, will be found. This supposition is based on the traditions handed down from early Spanish invasion that have detailed the knowledge of the existence of a race of giants that inhabited the plains of what is now eastern New Mexico. Indian legends and coverings in the same indicate the existence of such a race. There's so much history out there. So much history about skeletons, giants all over the place. Yeah, throughout Indiana. That's right, Dwayne. Oh, here's something about Madison. Oh, that's in Wisconsin too. They are the Nephilim, yeah. Look at that. Strange skeletons found. Did I already do that? In Wisconsin, excavating a mound. Uh, yeah, we already did that. We sure did do that. So look at these. Oh, so this is like what a normal giant. This is a normal human being right here. And this is a big giant. A 36-foot giant. 30-foot giant. 24-foot giant. 15-foot. 12-foot. And then a 6-foot man. This is what we are today. This is the average size, more or less. Can you imagine that? That's really big. Wow. Well, I'm sure they can make them. They can. They really can. And here's the skeletons. Look at those skeletons. I got to turn off my Telegram. I must have been over here an hour because I put my Telegram to 1 hour turn off notifications. Yeah. Wow, California, they're all over the place. I believe with giants roam the land, it said giants roam the land. And I don't think giants roam just one land. I think giants roamed the earth all over the world. I know that in my mother's side of the family, my grandmother, her family is Native American. My grandmother, she she married an Indian, a Native American Indian. His dad was like an Indian chief. But that side of the family are very tall, really tall, over around, I don't know, 6'8" or so. Some of them are super, super tall. Have y'all noticed that? You have really tall people in your families. And you have to ask yourself, well, where did they get that gene? It came somehow. Yeah. Like these are real tall. Man, they didn't go extinct. None of it. That's right. Some really tall people. Like I have some family members, 6'4", 6'5", really, really, really tall. Well, compared to me, I'm 5'1.5", but that's beside the point. Yeah. So wow, look at this. This is a grave of skeletons. So I think we've just about probably come to the end of this. That there are giants. They roamed the earth, and I don't think they ever went anywhere. Okay, I don't think they did. And we found a king in the Bible. Right here, there was a king in the Bible. Bashan was of old possessed by a giant race, is what he was. A giant race. In Deuteronomy, you can see it. They said his bed, I forget how tall they said how long his bed was, but it was longer than a regular bed, is what it was. Average height back then was 5'3". Anyone taller considered a giant, and the flood was to get rid of them. Well, and guess what? They didn't get rid of them all. They didn't. I think they're still alive inside the earth, too. Yeah. That is really, it is so interesting. It really is. Ooh. Look at this, you all. Now, I don't think this man ate children, okay? I don't think this person ate children. Okay, so that person would be considered a giant. But yeah, that's what I'd like to say. So we couldn't say that all the giants ate the children, okay? Oh, remember that? Jack and the Beanstalk? You remember that Jack and the Beanstalk? Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be him dead or be him live, I'll grind his bones and make my whatever. He was going to eat him. He was going to eat Jack, who climbed up that beanstalk. And he was a giant. See, that's real. It's not a fable. It's not a little child's story. And if you listen to the beginning of The Lord of the Rings, um, history became legend. Legend became myth. That's what it said. History became legend. Legend became myth. So Jack and the Beanstalk is real. Jack was a real giant. That whatever that giant was a real giant, and Jack climbed up that beanstalk. I'm sure that beanstalk was real too. Is probably really real. Yeah, you're so welcome, um, Gretchen. Because if we think about all the stories that had giants in them, and then you have the story of the five Chinese brothers. Remember those? They had different powers, different specialties. One could like stretch himself. One could not get burnt by the fire. I can't remember what the other three. They had all special abilities. Okay, and I think that's real too. I think there were superhuman uh, entities, beings on the face of the earth, and I think they're still here. Yeah, fire, exactly. Um, so that's about all the only giants I can think about. Yeah, that's about the only giants I can think about. Unless anybody else can think about any more giants. Yeah, so they're here, and they're giant, and this man is not a, this giant right here is not a man eater. That's like that song, whoa, here she comes. Watch out, boys, she'll chew you up. Whoa, here she comes. She's a man eater, but he's not a woman eater. he's not a he's not a woman eater, and he ain't a man eater. Okay, yeah. Um, yeah, that's what I'd like to say. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at that skeleton. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. The Jolly Green Giant. Ho, 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 Green Giant. Yeah. You cannot wait for the awakening. Well, you're awakening right now, okay? Now, well, this has got like a something about looking like an alien thing. So you can come on here. If you do a search, you're going to come on here and you're going to find stuff, okay? You're going to find giants who don't eat humans, okay? Yes, frequency and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this place is full of things. It is. And I think that's about all the articles that I have to read. Well, what are they looking at here? Oh no, my phone, that's me. I gotta, yeah. They're looking at a cave or something. So the giant in Kandahar is real. Okay, the giant in Kandahar was real. The U.S. Special Forces, he was 12 to 15 feet. And we have this King Bashan. He was tall too. Okay, he was a giant also. You can go there. You want to read it right there. Yeah. Oh, see, it said for only Og, king of Bashan, had remained of the remnant of the Rephaim. The Rephaim. Rephaim. Let's type in Rephaim. If we can do Rephaim and reptilian, R-E-P. Well, it's not nice to say he was a reptilian because I don't think he was a reptilian. No, it didn't. It didn't do my. I put the wrong word in Rephaim. Rephaim. I don't know why they called it Rephaim. Really don't. Um, I am getting off here. I really am. I'm just waiting for this to try to flip it around. Oh, the Rephaim. And the conquest and the cataclysm. The Heroic ages of ancient Israel. Okay, so who are the Nephilim? The product of the sons of God, daughters of men, the fallen ones, the Rephaim. Oh, look, there's flying serpents and dragons. Oh, wow. The Rephaim warrior. The gods of Palestine after the deluge. Oh, look at that. 180 best giants. Nephilim, Rephaim, Anakim, Eminem. All of it, y'all. So there's all kinds of, whoa, my gosh. Look how big their heads are. Oh, my gosh. Look at that. Yep. And they would probably want to tell you that that is not real. Look at them. They're digging in the desert, and they're uncovering those giants right there. That's how big they are. Yep. Very formidable. To see, what would we think if we saw somebody that tall? What would we think? That'd be kind of terrifying. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go because I'm about ran out of words. I'm getting tired. But I think this is a good topic. It really is. So they had skeletons all over the world. Every state, every country, all over the world have had giants. And they probably still do have some giants somewhere underground. Yeah. I don't know what that conversation's about. Um, yeah. That's okay. Thank you all for joining me because it makes it a lot better. That way I'm not talking to myself, okay? I like to communicate back and forth. Yes, good night, everyone. Thank you so much, Apple Brooks. That's a lot for you to have to get on here. I'm sorry. I should keep them smaller. Yes, thank you, Demetrius. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you all. Yeah, please hit that like button because we got giant skeletons, evidence written in newspapers that was like swept under so people couldn't talk about it no more. Yeah, have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I enjoyed this myself because I like reading about that. Yeah, good night and thank you, Rob. Have a wonderful